Master Yoda, the Sith have a temple on Jakku.
Know this I do.
I'm sure you did. You could probably see it through the Force, right?
No, not the Force.
Then how?
Google it, I did.
Right.
To your holocrons, hang on, people. Super Geeks who have joined.
Ugh.
Good music this is. Alright. Well, that was interesting. Yoda piped in on our music, so he must have liked it.
Well, at least it wasn't Batman.
Yeah, getting pretty tired of Batman.
You know, Batman should meet Yoda. That would be kind of interesting.
Yeah, two know-it-alls who don't share anything with anybody.
Right?
I don't agree with you, Yoda. You're stupid and small.
No, it would just be an hour of two people with brooding faces staring at each other.
Yoda's actually pretty optimistic. He doesn't... Well, no, you're right. He does brood.
No, yeah, because when you look at it, Batman's sitting there brooding because his parents were killed. And then Yoda's sitting there brooding because he's 900 years old and he's ugly.
Batman's brooding because he's constantly planning how to defeat everyone and everything around him.
I was going to say, Yoda isn't brooding because he's 900. He's brooding because all the Jedi died.
No. What did Yoda say to Luke Skywalker?
Well, all he said
when
was...
900 years old you become, something...
When you reach.
And you look like this.
And yet the Doctor looks awesome.
Very vain about his looks.
No, he wasn't.
As a 900-year, little
he was being a
pointy-eared
feisty old dude.
gremlin.
No, he would be more upset about the Jedi dying to brood over.
No,
anything
what
else.
did he tell Luke? Sitting
said,
in his own house.
I can quote everything
on Dagobah. On Dagobah. What did he tell Luke on Dagobah?
I will quote you
about
the
being
exact
900 years
thing.
old.
He said, "When 900 years old you reach, look as good you will not." Oh,
right.
shit, you're right.
So
that is vain.
He was so vain, and he was so angry that he's ugly. I'm like, dude, you're green and you got pointy ears.
Plus,
you look like a bald gremlin.
Plus, he didn't.
Yeah, but and Gidget's so much cuter than him.
Right?
Who? Oh,
Gidget.
From Gremlins.
So that's why he's brooding.
All right.
And Batman got issues.
I would think it's more about the Jedi all getting wiped out.
No,
he's had 30 years to come to terms with it.
Well, 30 years to a person of his race is pretty small potatoes. He's like a Time Lord.
He got over it real quick.
Yeah, he did. He's like, I like this swamp. This swamp is good. Okay, enough of the Yoda jokes. Okay.
Thank you.
How's everybody doing?
I'm hot, I'm sore, and I want to get out of California.
Why are you hot?
Because it's 90 freaking degrees in San Diego, and my apartment has no air conditioning!
Well, you know what? That's all on you for getting an apartment with no AC.
Dude,
that's why I'm moving to Iowa.
Yeah, you're gonna have...
Dude, in Iowa, it's gonna be...
cold.
No, check this out. In the summertime, it's gonna be hot and humid. And the only time that's gonna be good weather is the fall. And then in the winter, it's gonna be like 17 degrees. Yeah, and that wind is gonna go right through you.
It's just...
Thankfully, my place in Iowa that I already have lined up has central heating and air.
Yeah, that won't matter when you're not in your place. Or if the power goes out because of storms. Trust me, I live in Maine and
like,
these things
honey,
happen.
I'm going to go to the store to get some comic books. He's like, oh my God, I'm freezing to death. My lungs hurt just breathing the air.
Hey, Ross, I got to tell you, man, I live in Maine, as you know, and what Anthony just described is the same thing, and Anthony's been to Maine.
I've been to Maine.
Have you? Wait a minute.
I'm from New Jersey. I grew up in that weather, so I know exactly what's going on.
I may have spent the majority of my adult life in tropical climates, Hawaii, Southern California, Guam, fuck Guam. But I've spent my share of time in the more temperate and freezing areas. I spent a good amount of time in Connecticut, Chicago, visited Maine for a little bit. All right. South Korea is frigid as hell.
That's what I've heard from buddies when I was in
and
the army.
hot as hell, right?
And Japan in winter isn't much better.
Nope.
Singapore in December was nice though.
Huh. So welcome.
You know where it's really nice in December is Arizona. That is a great place to be in December.
I spent a lot of time in Seattle as well. Very cold winters.
It rains a lot, doesn't it?
Not as much as people think.
Not like London?
No.
No. All right, well, this is episode 31. I think I got the numbering right this time, and even if I don't...
You didn't ask Anthony.
About what?
How his week's been?
Oh, he doesn't care.
I asked everybody how their week's been. I didn't...
Yeah, and it kind of became all about me. Ask Anthony, damn it.
Oh, all right. How's your week been?
Well, I'm still hobbling along. I have very little balance, so I walk like I'm drunk. And even my neighbor said to me the other day, he said, I saw you taking the garbage cans out to the street. And I was thinking, wow, Anthony's had a couple of shots of tequila. I'm like, no, I just can't walk. That was a highlight of my week.
Are they used to...
Better to be seen as drunk than cripple, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Will said he would be here in the second half of the show. We'll see if that happens, because he's made a lot of promises in the past, but we'll see.
Will doesn't make promises.
What does he do?
Either he shows up or he doesn't.
No, well, he said he was going to show up.
If he says he's going to be an hour late, he'll be an hour late.
All right. Okay, so this is, like I said, episode 31, I think. Sometimes podcasts lose episodes for technical reasons, and their numbering gets off.
Or because their hosts are too drunk to form coherent sentences.
Never going to let me live past that till I air that episode, are you?
Nope.
You need to air it.
I'm going to look for it after this show, if I have it still. If not, I'll have to make one new. No, that won't count. All right. So there's a lot. This is what I love about the fall. I've been waiting very patiently for this time, because we started Super Geeks last year in the fall, late fall, and near the end of all the seasons of the shows, like the CW shows and all that stuff. And there was always something new to talk about, like the last episode of The Flash, the last episode of Supergirl, the last episode of whatever. And that's what I loved about the show. And then they had the winter break, and then we picked up in the second half, as a lot of shows do now. And then you had more to talk about. And then once the finales all happened, it was all random. Like, well, what are the movies doing? Because it's summer. So then it was kind of, there were some weeks when there was nothing to talk about, where we're waiting for something to come out or talk about, like Suicide Squad or Blair Witch or Civil War.
Fortunately, we're good at pulling stuff out of our asses.
We're pretty good at that. That is true. But the fact that there's not only this is fall and we're about to head into a great CW-looking TV season, and surprisingly, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. on ABC, which I'll talk about in a second, I'm just happy that all this new material is coming up, because it's not just the fact that there's something to talk about. This looks like it's going to be a great year for television when it comes to the shows that we love to talk about. And I'm excited about it. One of the first things I wanted to bring up was something I posted about how it was reported that Stan Lee has already pre-filmed his next 4 Marvel movie cameos. Now, in my opinion...
You want to know why?
Why? He's old.
He's like over 90
They're
years old.
not sure if he's going to be alive after 4 movies.
Yeah. So Miles will get it in now while he has the stamina, because dude could, keel over at any minute.
I totally agree with you. No offense to Stan Lee, and his biopic is coming out, like Ross mentioned, either last week or the week before.
It's not exactly a biopic. It's more of a... I'm not sure what to call it. A fictional...
There's been a lot of news that's come out since you talked about it.
I have no idea what to call it. Stan Lee as a secret agent / comic book artist in the 70s.
exactly. And there's been a lot of shows that have followed up on news that dropped after that week when you first announced it. But besides that, he's in his 90s. I mean, let's be real. I mean, anything could happen to the man any day now. So he's not Thor. He has an expiration date, a shelf life. God bless him. But what do you guys think of the fact that they have at least 4 more films lined up for us to look at Stan the Man?
Well, I'm happy he's still kicking, and I hope he sticks with us as long as he can.
See, Ross has a bundle of sunshine because me, I'm not there to see Stan Lee in a movie. I'm there to actually see the movie.
So, yes, but you don't get a little giddy thrill every time he makes his little cameo?
Because they want to see Stan Lee.
It doesn't do anything for me. You know?
Doesn't even make you chuckle like when he got drunk?
It's the running joke of the Marvel movies.
I understand it's a running joke, but whether he's in it or not, it doesn't take away my like for the movie. It doesn't enhance it. It's not like adding salt and pepper on a steak, you know, if it's already seasoned.
Okay, here's my opinion. Like, his appearances in most of the cameos in the movies were like, they were not funny at all or interesting, except for Age of Ultron, when Thor got him drunk with that little bit of Asgardian, whatever he pulled out of his little flask, when he's like, Excelsior! That's the only cameo that Stan Lee has made that I actually liked, out of all of them. His one in
You didn't like the strip club cameo?
Oh, wait, I did like it when he brought the UPS package to Tony Stark that had the letter, and he kept calling him Tony Stank. I have to admit, that one was funny, too. Tony Stank, I got a message for a package for Tony Stank, and then War Machine's like, it's Tony Stank. I mean, he's never going to live it down. That was funny, but most of them were just kind of there, and they weren't really interesting.
Well, maybe when he passes, somebody will do a tribute to all the cameos and make a video, and people could have like a 1-hour video of all his cameos.
Oh, then the technology's getting to where we can start adding dead actors even later, like to the point, like through computer rendering, if we really wanted to. I don't think we necessarily should.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. When I was in San Diego at Comic-Con in 2013, I saw Stan Lee. And I mean, the dude had a crowd around him like he was the Pope.
Yeah, he's like Gary Gygax with D&D.
But
rest in peace.
The fact that he made these comics and he made these superheroes, I have a lot of respect for him in that regard. But it doesn't do anything for me to see him in a cameo in a movie when I'm there to watch the Hulk, Thor, or Captain America.
It's like Hugh Hefner showing up in the middle of a Playboy made movie,
which is funny because he was confused for Hefner in Iron Man.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Right. So if it's just like what George said, if I'm watching a thing on Playboy Playmates, I don't want to see Hugh Hefner. I want to see the Playmates. That's how I think. And again, I'm not taking anything away from Stan Lee. He has all my respect. But if I'm watching a movie with Hulk, I want to see Hulk.
Yeah, I agree. I just think it's cute when they respect they just respecting the man behind the creation of all these things and giving him a little something to do. They don't have to pay him. They don't have to, because you got to think about how much money they have to pay him to do these cameos. Probably like about at least $1 million.
Right, but the thing is this: is he created these characters and he did get a raw deal. He signed it all away. So he sort of got screwed out of that. So I appreciate that they do put him in the movies because he is a creator of all that, but he's not getting his fair share of the money for it.
I have heard otherwise. I have heard that, because Marvel and Disney they're not exactly known to be bad business people with the people they work with. They have good relationships with everybody throughout the years that they get to work with them. I've never heard an actor complain about working for Disney. Even child actors later on, they're not like Corey Feldman or people like that who end up committing suicide or having all these issues where they signed on.
Corey Feldman is still alive.
Not Corey Feldman, the other guy, his buddy there.
Corey Haim.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and his unfortunate story, because I'm not trying to. I just forgot which Corey I was talking about. That's all. It's just that like there's a lot of child actors like sign on. Okay, Lindsay Lohan. Okay, that's a bad example, but they will often Disney treats them good, or they try to, and then they break off and become famous and do whatever. But Disney as a company seems to like to. They have the money. I think that's part of it. Is they respect things like when they acquired Marvel, they respect the property and who started it, and they're not leaving him in the lurch. When they acquired Star Wars, and they paid $4 billion for Star Wars, they still tried to include George Lucas. And then he goes on Dateline and complains about he felt like he was a jilted lover because they didn't want to use his outlines for the Episode 7. So
Well,
The quote something about him making an alliance with the evil empire.
Disney is not the evil empire. But yeah,
no, I don't. I mean, you gotta look at it this way: all these companies are there to make money, so that's their main interest. So they're gonna, if they're making movies, they want to make sure these movies are gonna make money.
Absolutely, but they can still respect the artists, and that's what Disney, in my opinion, has shown that they do.
Well, Disney has the foresight not to directly manage everything. They put people who are proven in the industry in charge of this stuff, and then let them work their magic.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point. Disney has not had a lot of bombs out there. I can't think of any off the top of my head. I'm sure they have had some, but it doesn't. See, that's the thing about Disney. You don't. When you think about it, like WB and Warner Brothers have had stinkers, but when it comes to Disney, if I had to scratch my chin and think, well, what bombs have they had? Okay, Howard the Duck. No, that was no.
Well, there have been plenty of bombs from Disney, but just keep in mind how big Disney is. Disney is huge, and Disney doesn't just encompass Marvel and Star Wars. It's also ABC and ESPN. Disney owns ESPN.
Exactly. I agree. I think that it's great. Stanley, to me, is just he's getting treated with respect, and that's all that matters.
No, that's good. That's a good
good
thing,
on
but,
him.
Yeah, I mean, he's now working for a company that's treating him with respect. What I'm talking about is back in the day when he signed his stuff away. He sort of got screwed out of the deal.
Oh well, Marvel went through a lot of hurdles before they got to Disney over the decades. Yeah. And they were competing with DC. He used to tell stories about the way they would compete with each other, and he would lose writers and artists to go over to DC, or DC would have people lose artists and writers to go over to Marvel, and they would.
That's just business. That's how the comics industry works. If you don't have a job with one company, you go to another and try and get work there.
Well, they would fight over things like first Marvel or DC created Swamp Thing, and then Marvel goes, well, I'm going to make someone just like Swamp Thing. So then they made Man Thing, and then they were fighting over that, and whether they would like fight. They would try to compete with each other. Like, but here's the interesting part. I'm not really doing a squirrel here. This is a reason why I'm bringing this up. Stanley said several years back, someone asked him, because he created a character called the Sentry for the Avengers. Now, Sentry's very similar to Superman, except his powers are a little bit different. He's more unstoppable. The only thing that stops him is his mind, because he's kind of like a bipolar guy if he got the powers of Superman. Okay, so it'd be like me if I got the powers of Superman. His
God help us.
Instead of kryptonite, his Achilles heel is anyone that can fuck with your head. And that makes him the most dangerous, because Sentry has unlimited superpower, strength, and all that stuff, and invulnerability, and no one could stop him. He even ripped Ares, the god of war, in half and pulled his guts out in a war against Asgard. He just picked him up and ripped the god of war in half and killed him.
Asgard?
On Asgard, when they were invading Asgard, and Steve Rogers was leading the charge.
Hades was with Asgard?
Well, yeah, the Greek gods were there. They were part of it, because Ares was part of the Dark Avengers. It was part of the Dark Avengers saga.
Well, so was, Sentry was a member of the Dark Avengers.
And then he decided he was on the wrong side, but Ares challenged him, and he picked him up and ripped him in half. See, Ares is this character. I mean, not Ares. Sentry, and the reason I'm bringing this up is when Stanley created, he didn't create him, but he approved him. When they created Sentry, the idea was Marvel's version of Superman, except that kryptonite is not his weakness. His mind is. If someone can screw with his brain, they win. And his wife too, his love for his wife, and that's what makes, in my opinion, Sentry a great character. I hope they bring him into the movies later, but he is the ultimate powered character, though. He could beat Hulk. He's friends with Hulk too. He could beat anybody in Marvel. He's unstoppable unless you screw with his mind. Anyways, but besides Sentry, what I was going to say was that what Marvel
So
did
basically, any woman can defeat him.
Well, no, he's seriously in love with his wife. He's never.
No, you said if you mess with his mind, you can defeat him.
In fact,
so any woman can defeat him.
And they did. Emma Frost from the X-Men series there. The telepath there. What's her nomenclature, Ross?
Who?
Emma Frost from...
Oh, the White Witch.
White Witch. She's a master telepath. She luckily was on the good side at the time because she stopped him completely and went into his brain and got him on the right path. But she could have done anything with him. Yeah.
She's kind of been back and forth between good and bad.
Yeah. So, well, anyways, my point is that Stan Lee, the reason I brought this up was that Stan Lee, when they created the Sentry, someone asked in an interview, Stan, I know that DC and Marvel are different universes. They have had crossovers with the Avengers and the Justice League. Like, for example, Superman actually beat Thor, but it was a close fight. And Captain America beat Batman. It was a close fight. Wonder Woman got beaten by Storm, but it was a close fight. And so Stanley was asked, who is the most powerful character in Marvel, and compare them to Superman. And Stan Lee said, I will tell you this. He said, I don't care. He goes, of course, when I'm not around anymore and someone else can decide differently. He goes, but as far as I'm concerned, when I made Marvel, I was a fan of Superman. I was a fan of Batman. And he said, and no matter what characters I created, Hulk, Thor, anybody, there is nobody as powerful as Superman. He said, that is the bar. Nobody is as powerful as Superman. No character that Marvel has should be as powerful as Superman. If Superman came over, he should be able to wipe the floor with any of my characters. He said, because I have nothing but respect for the first superhero in the world, which is Superman. And that was what he said. So unless somebody contradicts him later when they own the property, which I'm sure they will.
Well, he's the originator of these characters.
But he respects the fact that DC's Superman is...
All right, George, you're talking over me.
Sorry, go ahead.
What I was going to say is he's the originator of these characters. So if he says none of his characters can defeat Superman, then that's just the way it is.
Exactly.
Regardless if he's no longer with us and somebody else takes over. This is what Stan Lee said. That is canon.
Except for...
Gotta be careful throwing that word around.
Canon. Yeah. And of course...
It is the word we cannot say!
Cannon with one N, because everybody gets that... It's not a cannonball. But yeah, so anyways, I didn't mean to go into a sidetrack, but it's just, I always remember that's why I like Stan Lee, is he created his own competitive universe against DC, and there was a backstory to why this happened behind the scenes. But he respected the source material. He was inspired by Superman. He had that issue of Action Comics #1 that a lot of collectors have, where Superman made his first appearance, and he's picking up a car back in 1938, I want to say. I could be wrong, but that inspired him to create all of his characters. And he always said in his headcanon, Superman... Yeah, Superman's the bar, and he wanted his characters to have more flaws than Superman. So that's why Sentry has the mental flaws. It's not like, oh, I happen to get this radioactive meteor to beat this guy. Otherwise, I'm screwed. No, he wanted the Sentry to be. Stan Lee didn't really heavily make the Sentry, but he gave some ideas from what I heard, and they wanted Sentry to be like Superman if he had mental flaws. So, if he was made today. So anyways, enough of that. All right, so Ross, you talked about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s first episode last time. I finally saw.
Yeah.
I actually saw episode 2 earlier. I didn't tell you that, but I did. I managed to catch it. First of all, Anthony, did you catch... I can't remember if you told us last time if you saw that first episode.
I saw it after the show. I saw it once we were done with the show. I went and watched it.
Okay, yeah, so did I. And have you seen episode 2?
No, I tried to watch it today, but on my Comcast it said I had to buy it. I'm like, I ain't buying crap.
Do you care if we spoil it a little bit?
Go for it.
All right. Episode 2 was awesome. I was on the first episode. I always like after I saw the trailers, I had a feeling because I've been against going back to trying to give Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. a second chance. And I saw and Ross said a lot of things that made me think, this could be cool. When I went and actually watched it, I really enjoyed it. But episode 2 sealed it for me. I think unless they screw it up big time, they're on the right track. They're turning. Hey, you know what? This is what the fourth season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Mm-hmm.
We all love like Star Trek: The Next Generation that take 3 seasons to get into the groove and figure out where they're going. I'm going to give Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. some slack. I may have not liked the first 3 seasons, but that doesn't mean the show can't get to a point where I can end it on a high note when they finally decide to call it a day. Right now, they're on a good start for where they're going with episode 2 of season 4. So
meet the new boss.
The new boss. Not only that, but I have to say that I said a lot of bad things about Sky last episode. I've kind of changed my mind. They've actually managed to convince me, and the actress too, that Daisy's worthy of growing into a good character that I can actually
now known as Quake.
Yeah, they keep they keep talking about that in different podcasts, like Daisy, Quake, and that other name she uses, whatever she is.
Sky.
Yeah. They're really messing with May this season, but you know what? I don't even care about the regular characters. I want to focus on Ghost Rider. I mean, they've turned him into... You know what Ghost Rider reminds me of? Anthony, you'll remember this because you and I are both old enough. Do you remember back on... You watched 21 Jump Street back in the day, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember when Richard Grieco came on the scene?
Yeah.
And how he kind of took over from Johnny Depp as far as everybody wanted him, and he got so popular he spun off into his own show, whatever his character's name was, and then he became like a household name. Mm-hmm. I feel as if this is the same feeling like with Ghost Rider. He's hijacking the show. He's like John Travolta on Welcome Back, Kotter. It's that character.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I actually like Quake more than Ghost Rider, to be honest with you. I like her backstory. I like the predicament that she's in. To me, it's more interesting.
He also reminds me, and this is just an analogy, of what happened when 7 and 9 took over in Voyager in episode... actually, it's kind of funny. That was a season 4, I believe, also. Voyager was doing okay until for the first 3 seasons. They had an ensemble cast, and there was ups and downs in how everybody felt about the show. The moment they brought the Borg in 7 and 9... they really started using the reactions from the viewers to say, 7 and 9 is popular. We should focus and write more stories that focus on her. I have a feeling that's where they're going to end up going with Ghost Rider, because everybody's talking about the show now more in a positive light since he came onto the show. So I think it's possible that the rest of the cast is going to get jealous, because this is just what happens. If you have an ensemble show and it's doing okay, and you bring in that one popular guy who's like Richard Grieco, he's like 7 and 9. I'm just comparing them. I just remember whenever they do that on these kind of series, they end up creating... the show can go forward and do awesome, but the writers have a responsibility to not lose their sight, their vision, because they can easily get sidetracked by the pressure from the executives saying, look, the ratings went up big time because you had Ghost Rider more often in this episode, and then they're going to end up kind of writing down Coulson and all the other characters.
I don't think that's going to happen, because
I don't know. It's historically been proven.
You can't make Ghost Rider the focal point of the show. The show will become boring.
And he's not. He's not the focal point, but he is he's kind of a hinge. He is what is introducing S.H.I.E.L.D. to these strange new elements that you haven't seen before. The supernatural stuff, the weird stuff, the stuff that S.H.I.E.L.D. can't explain. And with this episode, they're continuing to kind of ramp up that impression. In the first episode, you had Ghost Rider. He's not an Inhuman. He's not technologically enhanced. No one knows what he is. He's this mysterious, flame-headed, skull-faced guy who's going around butchering people. And then in the same episode, something we didn't really touch on when we talked about it last week, was the introduction of that kind of ghost-like character. And it's revealed in this episode that there are 5 other ghosts.
Yeah. See, and nothing, Anthony hasn't seen this episode, but this episode also not only introduces more supernatural with the ghost characters, but Ghost Rider, by the end of the episode, kind of accepts that maybe he should work with Daisy, and he opens up his car door for her, and she steps in.
In addition to that, we also see that there's also a connection, because the Ghost Rider is able to come in where no one else can touch these ghosts. Anyone who touches them goes completely mad, which is unfortunately happening to May. And I'll get into something else about that in a second. But the Ghost Rider is actually able to touch these ghosts and banish them.
And he does it before he turns into Ghost Rider.
No, he did. He was Ghost Rider when he did it.
I mean, is when he first grabs the guy to stop him from touching, what's that guy's name? Fitz?
Yeah.
When he's about to touch Fitz, and he's cringing in the corner, who grabs his arm? He didn't turn into Ghost Rider yet. He was, what's his face? Raymond, whatever his name is.
Yeah, dang it, name escapes me.
Yeah, I can't, whatever his name is. His last name's Reyes. I'll just say Reyes. The dude before he becomes Ghost Rider. So a lot of people have been asking, so does he have these abilities even when he doesn't flame out? And apparently he has some abilities because he's able to see and grab the ghosts before he decides to go all...
He's able to conjure flame with the items that he wields. He set the wrench on fire. He set the muffler on fire. He's durable and he's strong even before he goes full-on Ghost Rider.
And there's another element to this. If you can interrupt me as I say it, Ross, if you want to backtrack to your other point you were going to bring up. But the whole point of this episode, Meet the New Boss, who is the new director, was a pretty awesome reveal.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about that now, or go back to what you were going to say before?
Let's lead up to it a little bit. At the promo at the end of last season, we saw Coulson and the big guy.
Yeah, you guys told me his name last time. The black guy, I can't remember his name.
Well, the two of them are hunting Sky, or Quake, try to bring her back to S.H.I.E.L.D. But she is evading them. She's trying to stay away from them. She feels so guilty about Lincoln's death at the end of the last season that she's going it alone. She doesn't want to be involved with anybody. And when they lose her, Coulson makes reference to the new director. And so Coulson is no longer the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. You don't know who he is in the first episode. And you get this feeling that no one quite trusts him. So you don't know what kind of person he's going to be. So when he shows up, finally, you're expecting him to be someone like Edward James Olmos, this kind of grim person who's always looking at everyone critically, always distrustful and everything else, especially the way that they talked about how S.H.I.E.L.D. has changed. But when you see him, yes, he's a kind of a big guy, but at the same time, he's got a bright smile on his face. He sounds cheerful, and he's addressing everyone around him by their first names. He seems personable. He seems pleasant.
I thought he was an android at first. Or one of those life model decoys that Marvel uses. I
didn't think that. I was definitely surprised by the character. I wasn't sure what to make of him. I mean, Coulson and May were supposed to go in to get chewed out by him, but they go into his office and they weren't getting chewed out. He stops Coulson before he goes into his speech and gets on with business with a smile on his face.
He sits there while May's trying her best while she's deranged by the ghost to beat the crap out of him, and she's just sitting there smiling while she...
That comes later. The whole interaction between the new director and Coulson. The new director's name, by the way, is... Hang on.
Yeah, I forget.
They only addressed him by his first name, Jeffrey. But subtitles... From that name, his full name is Jeffrey Mace.
Jeffrey, okay.
So the big reveal for this character comes later on when May finally succumbs to the dementia brought on by touching the ghost, and she kind of goes nuts in the middle of S.H.I.E.L.D. HQ, and her team of badasses try and take her down. Coulson tries to take her down. Everyone gets thrown around like ragdolls, you know how May is, until finally the new director shows up, steps up to her, she tries wailing on him, and he's not affected. He He takes the punches, but he doesn't fall. He doesn't even get pushed back a little bit until eventually he grabs her by her collar, lifts her up off the ground, and shoves her against a pillar to knock her out. He's an Inhuman!
Yeah, he says I prefer the term Inhuman. Yeah, so because somebody said, "Are you an android?" or something like that. I can't remember. And he's like, "I prefer the term Inhuman." And this guy's like, he's demonstrating like Superman type powers.
I wouldn't say that. I mean, he's got extra strength and he's got durability. So I'm not sure what extent it is, but he's definitely higher than normal.
He picked her up and he just did one carefully.
George?
Go ahead.
Before I was stricken with my nerve disorder, I was able to pick people up with one hand. So it's not something that can't be done.
I wasn't done with my sentence. When he picks her up and then like he does one quick little thing with that shoves her into the wall, that she's done. She just goes boop.
I have 2 words for you. Luke Cage.
He might be similar to Luke Cage in his power level.
Destructible, or he's very hard to hit, and he's very strong. So.
Will, you showed up a little earlier than we expected.
Yes.
Hey, did you see episode 2 of the season Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Yes, I have.
All right, what did you think of it? Now that you're here.
But I don't want to interrupt, but I got to bring this up real quick. That I just came across an article right before the show about who Jeffrey Mace is in Marvel history. He's Captain America.
What, like Nomad?
The Patriot.
Steve Rogers just changed his name?
No. In the 60s, when comics started to become unpopular, Marvel kind of retconned some of their stuff for when Captain America was introduced into the, quote, modern Avengers as different individuals who took up the mantle, and Jeffrey Mace was one of the biggest characters. So this guy could potentially become a new Captain America.
And he mentions Steve Rogers is no longer Captain America in the episode.
He mentions that Steve Rogers is AWOL. He would have been their first choice to replace Coulson as the director.
Right.
Yep.
He just said he went AWOL. So I mean, they're tiptoeing around him not being Captain America because they got.
Well, they're homaging the whole history of this comic thing.
But it's very it seems likely that somehow it could be possible that this guy, the new director of S.H.I.E.L.D., could become a Captain America.
I don't think that's what's going to happen because the Marvel Cinematic Universe has nodded to these things, but they haven't like embraced them. You know what I mean? Like not full-heartedly. It's like when they use a character name, they'll homage where it came from. It doesn't mean they're going to recreate the storyline. They've done that a lot.
It just seems what might be fun to me. At the very least, he could take up the name Patriot.
Yeah, or Nomad, one of them.
So Iron Patriot has already been taken.
Well, no, the Iron Patriot was in Iron Man 3.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you've got an Iron Patriot. You can't really have Patriot, can you?
You could.
You could, yeah. I've never. I don't know. Anyways, Will, what did you think of the episode?
I like the episode. I mean, I'm liking this new
direction.
Well, yeah, because they split the group up. They're on disparate missions. May's crazy. I mean, they turned May into a psychopath. She's right. She's nuts. Anyway, so she's seeing ghosts or dead people or whatever it is. Because she doesn't realize that what she saw and when they took down the other people that it's real. They're not. I see these people are in the boxes. Are they ghosts? Are they somehow in another time? Alternate time.
Yeah, they're trying to rationalize it.
But the thing is, I'm thinking they're not recognized because I mean he told her, look, I am not inhuman, and she's like, yeah, she doesn't believe him, right? So they're going to have a reckoning, and now what's those 2 guys? Fitz and
Fitzgerald
and Simmons,
right? Yeah.
They've seen him. They've seen his face. They've seen his skull.
Sorry, Fitz and Mac. They're the ones that saw them.
Oh, I'm like, so they know they can see him, and like there's going. I mean, I'm waiting to see how they're going to say because he's not inhuman.
Well, he already said it. He said he sold his soul to the devil.
Buying it yet?
Well, because you could explain a lot of what's going on in this show.
You see Fitz. He's trying to explain the box, He's like, I've never seen anything like this, and he's trying to put it into a scientific context. I'm thinking there's something spiritual or, witchy about it, right? So it's going to be really strange or really fun to see how they're going to, because these are people from the science, how they're going to see, okay, how do they rationalize or come up with and accept that he's something completely different? He is from the devil.
And there's something that the ghosts kept mentioning that just kept like an ice pick in my head every time they said it. The book. Because you had the damn book. They mentioned the book at least 12 times during that scene after she unlocked everybody. What book are they talking about?
Well, okay. Go ahead, Will.
No, I'm thinking it's going to have to be doing something with... Because, they've got the sorcerer coming out, right? It's not going to be him. But they're slowly introducing some magical aspect. This book, it's got to be some kind of spiritual or something that turned them into this, that they try to use this side. It's going to be very interesting.
Did they have Strange's book?
Maybe, I don't know this about Strange's book, but it's going to be something related to that, I think, right? Maybe it is. Maybe they're going to say they had it before Strange got it.
Well, because Will brought this up, I didn't have it in any particular order. I'm going to kind of merge this into the topic instead of looking at it like a separate one. So there was a recent interview where they were explaining how Doctor Strange and his mystics fit into the Marvel Universe, because they had a whole news topic about it on Collider. And the directors explained how this all is fitting in. And it kind of, I think it's how they're tying it into Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And I'll explain as succinctly and quickly as I can. So the way they explained it is that they're going to do kind of what they did with Thor. You know how Thor said, like, magic and science are two sides of the same coin kind of thing? Well, when they bring in Doctor Strange, it's not like they're saying it's just magic. It's just whatever. It's just supernatural. They're looking at like an alternate reality shaping people in an extra dimensional domain that are fighting a war that nobody sees, but every day it's being played out to save us from being destroyed by things we don't even know are going on behind this veil.
They hint that in this episode when Fitz is able to see the interior of the box by phase-shifting light.
You can see, the thing is, and this is what I love, that the way Marvel handles it, is you can rationalize, if you're a scientist, if you really think about it, the spirit world from the real world in a form of metaphysics. I mean, you can just look at it as a different way of looking at things. It's like it's an extra dimensional dimension, interacting with this dimension that we're in, and we just don't understand how the physics work, because in this dimension, physics don't operate under the same level. And these people have the ability to tap into that reality shaping. It makes them powerful, of course. They're not quite metahumans, but they're people who understand the laws of reality. And this is what Stephen Strange is going to learn, according to that interview. He's going to learn that there are people who are back behind the scenes, keeping everything intact that we don't even know about. And it's an art upon itself. It's almost like super science, but it's not. People call it magic. And they talked about how somebody asked, why have none of these supernatural people, the mystics, been involved whenever things happen, like in the Avengers, when the aliens invaded? Why didn't they get involved? And Kevin Feige said, and I'm paraphrasing here, he said, they have bigger fish to fry. When they're doing the stuff going on behind the scenes, you'll learn about Doctor Strange. Things like the aliens invading New York is small potatoes. It's like a bank robbery to Superman. It's like, if I have to choose, Superman has to choose between stopping a nuclear bomb from going off in Iraq and a bank robber shooting a bank up in Metropolis. He's going to go after the bigger fish. And that's the way that all the mystics have been going throughout the ages. You're
mixing your comics, Superman's DC.
No, I'm using it as a metaphor. And just an analogy is that's how they explain it. Like, there's bigger fish to fry for the mystical element of the Marvel Universe. They're inside these other dimensions trying to keep reality intact from all these other people, who either demons or other mystics that learn how to merge with demons and use these reality-altering powers. They're trying to, as he even said, they're trying to keep the buildings from falling down. They're trying to keep continents from exploding because of things going on with godlike beings behind the scenes who get too much power and they're fighting among themselves. They know that this stuff's happening, but they don't have time for it. That's like small potatoes to them. So Doctor Strange is going to get involved in the Avengers Infinity War. That's going to be another subject.
You need to change the battery in that fire alarm, George.
I know. I didn't know if you guys could hear it.
Just take the battery out, man. Take this stuff over.
I'm going to as soon as the show's over, but I mean, it would take a minute. But
take that many. Just pop it out and pull.
I got to figure out which battery it is, which fire alarm it is too, because there's 4 of them. Smoke detector. But real quick, so Doctor Strange, once he gets involved with the Avengers and everything, his point of view is going to be different because he came into this already being aware of the Avengers and everything that happened in New York. So, anyways, I'm not trying to sidetrack too much.
And the Infinity Stone seems like something he'd care about.
Exactly, and the Infinity War is going to be a bigger, epic event that everybody has to get involved in. But anyways, what I'm trying to say is how it relates to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I think the scientists are going to learn, and I'm going by what they said in the Comic-Con panel, they're going to learn over time there's bigger physics involved. It's not really science and magic, or they're not that different.
They're not going to be as smart as they think they are.
Yeah, it's going to be like a super science. What people call supernatural.
They're going to be out of their depth, basically, because they're going to be trying to explain something to science when it cannot be explained with physics and math and so forth.
They're going to reach enlightenment.
Any science, by definition, has to have the tools to be able to measure and understand it.
It's got to be measurable, and it's got to be. When you do the scientific math, it's got to be measurable. I mean, you've got to have some way to detect it.
Right. We don't
and
have.
You've got to be when you have a hypothesis, it's got to be able to be proven false because you have either accept it or reject it. So I mean,
exactly.
Which can be challenging when the outcome of the result could be altered by you trying to measure it.
And if something's way above your head and you don't know, then the people like on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. who are going by what we have for technology, even though it's enhanced in their world because they've understood a lot of alien stuff, they're still going to be baffled by this part of the bigger picture. You know what I mean? That's what we're dealing with this season. That's why I like it.
And it's also interesting that they're finally trying to bring S.H.I.E.L.D. back into the light by making it a legitimate intelligence agency once again backed by both the U.S. and the UN.
What do you see happening, though, with the Inhuman Director? Do you think he's going to get caught by the bigger parties and it's going to cause a bigger conflict?
He was installed because Coulson told the president that they needed a trusted, powered person in charge.
You guys talk for like
face, and he wasn't the face. Coulson didn't want to be the face of S.H.I.E.L.D. because he thought he was too compromised. I'm thinking.
You guys
I know he's probably just sick of it too. So he went ahead and said, "Look, Mr. President, choose somebody who's good looking, who have a good face, and maybe powered." And they chose this. I've never heard of this guy, so I don't know who he is. And so.
We talked about just before you shut up. Give me 5 minutes, you guys talk among yourselves. I'm going to get that smoke detector battery out, and I'll be right back.
Yes, this is annoying.
So, I guess we can bring up the next topic with the everyone's talking about the Superman Supergirl trailer for the next season.
No, wait till I get back for that one.
We'll get it started. You can talk about it when you get back. So I saw it. I thought it was pretty awesome. I thought that the Superman was pretty well done.
Well, what I've seen, yes, from the thing.
In the trailer.
I mean, again, we haven't seen the whole thing. It looks like he's Clark Kent. He looks like he's a little bit of a dork. But when he becomes Superman, he's much more hip and, good looking and suave. And so, I don't know. When I look at him, he doesn't seem tall enough.
Well, I looked at him. I mean, they did a really good job with the trailer. When I saw the trailer and she was trying to save the ship and shit, and he's like, "Hey, you need help?" And she's like, "Hey, cuz," right? But before that, when he was Clark Kent, I'm looking at the dude's grill. I'm like, he needs braces. How do you... Maybe I'm being a little cynical, but dude needs braces.
I wasn't checking out his grill, so I don't know.
Well, no, when they did a close-up and he's talking to Mr. White on the phone.
Yeah, okay. I mean, no, I don't.
Oh
look
my
at the man's
goodness!
teeth.
I'm like, dang.
I don't
use
look at the man's
your
teeth.
superpower and push some of them teeth out so they're straight. That's just me. Maybe I'm being cynical. Maybe I'm being negative Nancy, but he needs to get his grill fixed.
It was an exciting trailer, and it makes... I wasn't so sure about the Supergirl TV series when I first saw it. I heard about it a lot through you guys. I watched the Flash crossover, and it looked interesting, but it didn't seem to hit the right buttons for me. But I gotta say that this trailer does. It hits the right buttons, and I think that it's gonna get people excited for the upcoming season.
Yeah, he can't be in all. I mean, he can't be in most of them. He's going to be the first couple, maybe at the end, because it's her show. And when I talk about the Supergirl, when you look at Flash and you look at Arrow, they've had a couple of. Well, I mean, Flash has 2 years. To me, Supergirl was still a little campy. I mean, it wasn't really campy, but it was a little.
It's very campy.
Kind of thing. It was Monster of the Week kind of thing. Kind of what they were doing with Batman. Gotham. Monster of the Week. Hopefully they get away from that. They don't have to have a monster a week. They just need to have a story arc that goes over the entire season, right? That's what I was looking for. And that's what Arrow's done, and that's what Flash have done. I don't think they did that with Supergirl. It wasn't really an arc that went throughout the entire season. It was just, let's catch all these bad guys that have fallen out of this thing. And when she went around catching them and so forth. And she's fun. I like her as a character, and I like Cat. I mean, she was great, right? And the other guys, the other characters are great. But when I was just watching one on the WB, and there's the one where Flash comes back, right? Which is a good episode. But the bad guys, that Banshee and
that was so cringeworthy.
Right? I'm like, that's an awful outfit, and it was those two. I mean, Livewire was not bad. She's all right. But Banshee, I'm like, ugh, I didn't like. I mean, that's what they did with some of the bad guys throughout the season. I'm like, just get away from that. Concentrate on this dynamic between these, her trying to be a reporter, Cat's assistant, and then being Supergirl. That's the interesting part. And then you again have a story, and hopefully now it's on WB. Maybe under a different executive.
You mean CW?
CW, sorry. And have a story arc that
I'm going to call you out, Will, because you did say that there is only going to be one season of Supergirl, and that's it.
I never said that.
Are you sure? I'm pretty sure you said that.
I never said that.
About what I missed?
Never said that.
We just finished talking about Supergirl and how the trailer looks pretty good, how we're interested in seeing what's coming up, and I just saw something from Stephen Amell, the guy that plays Arrow's Twitter feed, a picture teasing a meetup between Supergirl and the Arrow.
That's good, but that's good, but I have all these notes about how I feel about that trailer.
Okay, George,
Go ahead.
City, to be honest, if you want my opinion.
Okay, so
give us your soliloquy.
All right. First of all, I feel that Tyler, whatever his last name is, Hoshig, whatever it is, I feel that he is a better Superman than Henry Cavill by about 99%. I feel that this is the Superman
based on the trailer.
There's been several trailers. There's been several trailers.
He's not as good as Dean Cain, though.
Well, I think he's about equal.
I still like Dean Cain better.
I do like.
I think Cavill's the best Superman, if you want my opinion.
Well, look, the movies and the TV. No, I don't. Cavill looks like Superman, but he doesn't act like Superman. Yeah, Cavill.
He's the original.
Okay, Cavill looks the best as Superman. He doesn't act the best as Superman. Not my Superman.
But it could be due to his
director's fault.
Yeah,
it's exactly. That's what I was going to say. Will will understand. This is the Zack Snyder darker Kal-El. You could feel the tone of this Superman from every like when he's talking to Perry White as Clark Kent, to when he's like going up to Karen saying, "Need any help?" and the way he talks to her, the tone of his voice, and he's respecting the fact that it's like two cops when they come to a caller, as they call it. Like they both respond to the crime in that one of those previews, which is that shuttle that's crashing. And Superman. Everybody argued on YouTube. He could have taken that thing down and saved it by himself. Yes, he could have, but that wasn't the point of what's going on in this clip. He respects his cousin. She was the first on the call. He's not going to humiliate her or try to one-up her and say, yeah, get out of the way, I got this. That's not how Superman rolls. And that's consistent with the way he's acted even in instant messages on the show or on any other show. So he shows up and he's like, hey, you need a hand? And she's like, I think this is a job for both of us. He knows that he could do it by himself. But he's being respectful of her, and he's being like a cop that shows up late on the scene. He might have more experience, but this other younger detective or whoever might have shown up first. That's how people act in these situations. If you're an ethical, cool person, you work with them. And he, like I said, he knew he could have taken that thing down by himself, but he figures, why tell her to get out of my way? I got plenty of time. I'm going to help her out. We're going to work together. And also, two people working together have a better odds of these people surviving. He's not going to be arrogant.
Hey, George.
What?
I'm a little concerned by your statement because you said more than once that Superman knows he can do the job by himself. Well, don't you think that he had enough confidence in her to do it by herself?
That's why he asked.
Okay, I just.
He did not insist. He sat there calmly. If you watch that trailer, in the promo, he's sitting there like his little cape big cape, I should say, flap in the wind. He's going, "Hey, need any help or need a hand or whatever?" And she's like, "Hey, cuz." He's like, "Good to see you." He's even making small talk with her with a smile while she's like, "Ugh."
It's a brief family reunion.
Exactly. But the thing is that this is the Superman attitude. This is the way everybody who's like against Zack Snyder's Superman. I liked Man of Steel, and I liked Batman v Superman, but I kind of when I started thinking about why people were complaining about this depiction of Superman, when I saw this, it suddenly ticked in my head. This is why, because it's like until I saw the comparison to the way this guy is playing Superman versus Henry Cavill as a more recent example, I agree with everybody. This guy.
Wait a minute. I mean, you've had Dean Cain.
You've had the guy on Smallville. What I'm saying recent.
Christopher Reeves. I mean, they've all played Superman. They've all played.
You almost had Nicolas Cage.
Screw that.
Keyword. Keyword recent, because you sometimes need to be reminded after so many decades.
No, you don't. If you've watched it, it's in your. You should remember it.
When you watch the new ones though, Man of Steel and Batman v Superman though, that's more like what they're shoving in your face. But
I understand if this is your first time seeing any kind of Superman movie, but you're old enough to have seen the original. You're old enough to see.
I was in the theater with
you
Superman
have to compare,
Superman 2.
When I went in, I'm comparing Cavill, whatever his name is, Cavill, to Christopher Reeve. I'm automatically doing that in my head.
Actually, Brandon Routh was a better example.
Yes, Brandon Routh was better than Cavill.
He was.
I like Cavill better than Routh.
No, I don't like Routh.
They're different styles. They're different styles.
Yeah, like I said, it could be. I just don't like the way Superman was portrayed. Yeah, he's more muscular, he's beefier, he's taller, he's better looking.
But people talk about the personality.
But Routh was a better Superman because that's the way Superman was supposed to be portrayed.
Well, they meant it to be a continuation of the Richard Donner universe. It wasn't meant to be a
Ralph
reboot.
Was more of an emo Superman.
That's an emo, no.
Oh, yeah. The Ralph Superman Returns was, and that's why they used that music too. It was meant to be a continuation of the same universe as the Richard Donner movies. It wasn't meant to be a reboot. So it was the same guy, but Christopher Reeve was dead, so he was recast. It was like it would be
he wasn't dead at that time, but he was.
He was.
He was around.
No, actually, he was dead. He was dead because he didn't see the movie. His wife did, and she loved it. But anyways, the point I'm trying to make is that Tyler, whatever his name is, Teen Wolf guy, I have to say he's a good enough actor that I may actually want to go back and watch Teen Wolf. I keep hearing it's good. And because like Buffy, it's supposed to be like the movies were bleh, and then this was serious. But this guy is a good actor. I mean, the way I can see why they cast him now. I mean, yeah, he looked like him, and I said, all right, well, whatever. But now that I've seen him in a scene with her, actually several scenes with her, I can feel it. I can see now. So the job of the CW now in the future is who do you cast as Lois Lane later on? Because they're saying now that this is a test for a possible Superman spin-off show for CW.
Oh, okay, but you know what's going to happen now though is because of Anthony's little cryptic remark about his grill. Everybody's going to be checking out his teeth the next time they see him.
They need to check it out. I'm like, Superman needs to get his grill fixed.
What was wrong with his grill?
He's saying he's got
Watch
crooked
the trailer
teeth.
again.
He's saying he's got
his
crooked
teeth
teeth.
are all crooked.
I didn't notice.
They're all pushed
Is
in
he
and
English?
stuff.
No, Tyler's from America. I can't pronounce his last name because I've watched several podcasts of people trying to figure out. It's like Gal Gadot. Is it Gadot? Is it Godot? It's like that. His last name's kind of weird.
He's Godot. Is what his name
I hate
is.
actors
Her
who
name is
don't
Godot.
change their last name because they need to know that people need more recognition.
Really?
I mean that with all my heart because a lot of actors have done that over the years.
Yeah, because they were pressured to by studios, pressured to become a different person, someone other than who they were. You should embrace who you are, embrace your weird name, and don't change it because it's more recognizable or easier to pronounce.
I disagree.
No, actually, Ross is right. I knew an actor a long time ago when I was a teenager, and I knew him as one name, but his movie name was something else.
Writers have pen names.
But why? Well, use your own name.
If you have a stupid name, because you can't help what your parents give you for a
Define a
last name.
stupid name.
All right, Silsby, my last name.
How is that stupid?
Well, look, here's the thing.
If you're introduced to the world as George Silsby, and you become popular, that's how they will know you.
No, not if I have a nomenclature.
All right, you're being ridiculous.
Not nomenclature. You're talking about a pseudonym.
Yeah, sorry.
Nomenclature is what you name something.
You're right. Okay.
Nomenclature is when you find a new fish and it's nomenclature. You get to name the fish.
Look, there are people I know who
things.
have stupid last names, and they went into the town and they changed it legally. No offense to the people out there whose parents named them. It's just like you might if you're going to become a public figure. Sometimes, yes, you do care. It's like people getting boob jobs. You do care about something that was out of your control that you can suddenly take control over. There's nothing wrong.
And what if they're completely fine with that, George? What if they're completely comfortable with who they are? Should they change their name because someone else might find it to be hard to pronounce?
Except in the case of this guy, yes, I agree. Because he's Superman now, so he should change it. I'm joking. Kind of.
Well, I think we all disagree with your opinion.
Well, he was already in a lot of popular things like Teen Wolf, so it's not like now. It's kind of late now. But what about women that get married? Right? Like, look at Okay, Megan Fox is a bad example because she never took Brian Green, whatever the hell his name is, last name. But her the guy from 90210. What the hell is his name? Anyways, you know what I'm saying. But there are some actresses who have changed their last names to their husband's name and then changed it back because of either getting divorced or whatever.
I'm sorry,
actually,
George.
that's completely different.
Actually,
George, that is the worst example to use.
Bonnie and Austin Green, my girlfriend just reminded me. Thank you. No, you know what though? You're right though, because actually, as I said that, I realized that you both had a point because of my own argument supported your argument. I'm like thinking, okay.
All right, so what's the next topic?
Anyways, never mind. Okay, before we go on to the next topic, though, I do want to say that as far as the future of the CW with Superman involved, what do you guys think about... there was one other point I want to make, and then we'll move on. So a lot of people were worried, this has been the biggest thing I've heard in the comments, is that they're worried that Superman is going to it's too soon to bring him in because they're going to overpower her show, overshadow her, and I don't agree with that. I agree with the people who say... No, he's not going to overshadow her and make it take away from its Supergirl show by having Superman come in, because I think that it's going to be like the Avengers with Thor and Hulk and everybody. It's going to be like heroes need help sometimes, and who better to help you than someone who's as powerful as you or better? That doesn't mean they take over the show, even if they're more popular than you as far as the history goes. I think that he'll complement her. And it's kind of like when they did the Flash crossover. The Flash was already a success. As we all know, we talked about this when the episode aired. The crossover only helped both shows. It helped Supergirl and it helped the Flash. Now, granted, Superman doesn't have his own show to help those ratings. But when they brought Superman, when they do bring Superman in and he's in the show, they talked about how he's only in about 2 or 3 episodes out of this entire 20-something episode season. I don't think that's going to overshadow it. What do you guys think?
I don't think he's going to overshadow her. He's only going to be 2 episodes so far. He's not going to be throughout the season. He's
Right.
just going to be introducing him at the beginning, maybe at the end of the season. So it's going to be her show. She's going to be doing the most of the rescuing. She's going to be doing the most of the hero stuff. He's just going to be around, in the periphery doing his own thing. And if he gets his own show, he gets his own show. And then they can have a crossover where she comes onto his show, he goes onto her show.
Yeah, with that grill, he's not going to take over. Trust me. She's a lot better looking than him.
Well, yeah, she's a girl.
Well, it doesn't matter. There's guys that are better looking than women.
Yeah, he's not a very good looking guy. Well,
he's not a good looking guy.
Well,
especially with that grill.
The comments that everybody's making on YouTube and things like that is they're totally excited about, universally I see this, they're totally excited about him coming on. But one of the most common things I keep seeing in comments is, so why are we still watching Supergirl? It's time for him to take over as Superman. And that's the perception that they're worried about.
Why are you worried about what people think?
I'm not. I'm saying they.
I don't know who they are, and I don't acknowledge their authority on this matter.
What do you think, Ross?
I've only watched one episode of Supergirl, the crossover. So I saw that in that episode, having the Flash guest on the show didn't really take away from Supergirl. The villainesses were weak, but the dynamic between Kara and the Flash was excellent. And having that kind of familiar rapport between her and Superman was very fun to see. And that kind of, hey cousin, how you doing? Oh, good. Yourself? Yeah, I'm good. Hey, want to help me land this plane? Yeah, sure. I thought that was fun, and I'd like to see... it was a good thing. And if we see more of that, that's good, so long as it doesn't become too regular an occurrence. But from what I understand, Superman has been... had an implied presence in Supergirl since the beginning. So I don't see how a live presence would be any different.
Well, they have had live presences. Here's what, because you haven't seen the other episodes, I'll just briefly mention. There's been at least 3 episodes where Superman was in it, but they used clever camera angles and shots to not see the actor's face, so that they didn't have to cast him. There was one episode where she was defeated by one of Superman's most common enemies. I forget which one it is. She's laying on the ground, seeing blurry images that you see from her point of view. Suddenly, you see Superman come down and pretty much kick the guy's ass, and he took off and retreated. And then as Superman's starting to turn around, she passed out and her eyes closed. And then in the first episode, when she narrates how Superman took her to the Danvers to be adopted, the sun blindly blurs out his face as he's reaching out his hand for her. And then there was one other episode in the season finale when he's coming to help her, and there's been a lot of text conversations with her and him and Kara that you see on the show as Clark Kara. And then he comes to help her at the last minute, and then all of a sudden he drops to the ground, and you see it from a huge distance, him walking along like a zombie because... And this actually follows up on what you saw in that crossover episode. Maxwell Lord, or somebody used a satellite thing. Nom and Allura and the Kryptonians used something to control everybody's brains. And Superman, you see him flying towards the building, and she's telling Kat, Superman's coming, and then he drops to the ground, and you can't see his face because it was too quick, and he starts walking along with all the zombie people.
But that's what I mean. He's been there. He's had an implied presence. Even if you don't see his face, you see him. So I don't see how having him being there with his face in front of the camera, having that direct conversation would change things.
It shouldn't.
And besides, it's Supergirl. Her presence is there as a counterpoint to Superman. Superman came first. Supergirl came because of the popularity of Superman. So having a Supergirl without Superman doesn't work.
I completely agree. I think it's interesting from your point of view because you've only seen the one episode, but it was the right episode to have this viewpoint, I think, in my opinion. So, yeah.
Well, George, you got to understand in Supergirl, she's still discovering her abilities.
Right, he's the mentor.
No, Superman is not the mentor. You don't see him teaching her how to fly.
That's true. You're right.
She figured that out on her own when she saved her sister in the airplane. That's a good point.
No, you're right. I give you that.
So she's still learning her stuff, and he just happens to be seasoned at it. But at some point in time, her abilities are going to match his abilities,
And if you go by Man of Steel, it has to do with how many years you've absorbed solar radiation, things like that. You make a good point.
But that's part of the appeal to Supergirl. She lived her whole life, as a Danvers, with her sister, and now she realized, oh my God, I can do some stuff, but I don't know the extent of what I can do.
Well, her
so
dad.
she started learning it, and her sister was helping her out.
Well, not in the episode where they showed the flashback when she was a kid, and Dean Cain, her adopted father, you saw how she wanted to help. She did help people, but he kind of like how Jonathan Kent did on Smallville and on all the iterations. He explained to her how she has to hide her powers, or else she'll be taken away by people. She hid her powers out of fear. I mean, she occasionally snuck out with her sister and had her on her back and flew. Remember, like in the flashback thing. But you're right. She learned on her own, but she was discouraged from displaying what she can do because her adoptive parents were very paranoid about what the government would do if they found out she was related to Superman or had those kind of powers, and what they would take her away from them, and that was the whole point of why Superman trusted her to be taken care of by these people, and that he was basically too busy to do anything but trust how they raise her. Yeah. Did you guys notice in the promos too they mentioned Gotham? That was a huge thing for the fans on all the forums out there. No one's ever mentioned whether because in the crossover episode that you saw, Ross. They mention, Flash does a name check. He goes, "Do you know about Green Arrow?" She says, "No." "Do you know about Black Canary?" "No." So we're narrowing down in Supergirl's universe who does not exist. But now in the promos they mention Gotham. Now,
as I just mentioned, we have a photo of Supergirl meeting Green Arrow.
And
wait a minute. How they haven't said this in the promos, and they haven't said this in the previews or mentioned it. How are they reconciling her universe with everybody else's universe?
I have a theory about that. I mentioned in a previous show.
Well, yeah, we've already gone over the theories. But has there been any concrete information from the show about how they're okay? So we don't know yet.
But I will say that there is a huge rumor, and it was backed up by a recent not Comic-Con, but a panel for CW. They're bringing in Renee Montoya, the girlfriend of the second question from 52, and the girlfriend of Batwoman. And there was a heavy rumor a few months earlier that they had cast Batwoman to be coming to Supergirl, along with Oracle as Batgirl, so that they could they're going to bring in Batman characters for the female kind of Birds of Prey type feel, like girl power. So Batwoman's never been depicted on a live screen before, and those were rumors. But then on the panel they said, yes, we are bringing in Renee Montoya, the female cop from the Batman series who became the second question in the lesbian relationship with Batwoman. And someone on the panel asked, if you're bringing her in, does that mean some other people that wear masks might come in? And the producer said, "Oh, we're not confirming or denying anything, but all we're trying to say is we're always trying to bring in as many characters as we can from the DC lore." And the audience clapped like crazy because they knew what she was hinting at. Batwoman is, in my opinion, coming. And if she's here, then Batman exists. And Gotham exists and all that. Now, it may take some special... If they can bring Superman into Supergirl, we talked about this in a previous show. They used to have a lockdown on what they could... The characters that from the movies, that if the movies were going on, like they couldn't bring in Superman if there was a movie going on, or Batman. That's why Green Arrow took over the Batman role in Smallville. Things are different now. It's ever since Jeff Johns took over.
What just happened?
I have no idea.
We lost both George and Anthony.
Right, they just timed out. What?
Oh, and they're back.
What? Did you disappear into an alternate reality?
Oh, did you not hear me?
You and Anthony both left the channel and then suddenly came back.
Basically said, user in your channel has timed out.
What was
you
the
and
last thing you
George
heard me
disappeared.
say? What was the last thing you heard me say, real quick?
I don't know. I wasn't listening.
I kind of tuned out too.
All right. All I'm going to say is
You were talking about Supergirl and and how they again.
Okay, I'll make this real quick just because it was. I want to get this point on the episode. On a panel, they mentioned Renee Montoya, the girlfriend of Batwoman, is coming onto the show. Confirmed. In New 52, she became the second Question character. She's always been the lesbian girlfriend of Batwoman. They've already name dropped Gotham on the promo for Supergirl. If they can get Batwoman on the show, which is what's looking likely, because that was a rumor a while back, then they can bring in Batman as well. Because Superman and Batman were both having the same issues as far as the rights. But Jeff Johns changed that, and we talked about this a while back too. If they can bring in Superman, they have the same ability to bring in Batman. It's only a matter of time. So... the question,
correct me if I'm wrong, but Batman hasn't been on live-action television since Adam West.
Because of the rights tie-ups. That's the word I'm looking for. Tie-ups that I was talking about that recently changed. That's why they couldn't get him on Smallville. They wanted him on Smallville, and in interviews and stuff they talk about this. But that's why Arrow ended up taking over his role in the Justice League type thing, because they couldn't get Batman. Because they were doing all the Nolan movies at the time.
Well, they couldn't, and Arrow, the TV series, has pretty much had him be his own Batman.
Exactly, and but what I'm saying is that Jeff Johns, his recent promotion to become the head of the DC movie universe and and help out with the rights, he got them to allow Tyler to play Superman on Supergirl. They talk about this. He's like, no, we need to free up the universe, not restrict it, so that we can make the fans happy if we want to compete with Marvel. And if Superman was given to Supergirl, I guarantee you there's no difference between that and Batman. And that's why they've been name-dropping Gotham, and that's why they've been talking about Batwoman coming. They're going to...
I don't see them introducing all of these at once.
No, they're not. That's the whole point.
But yeah, they're not going to be introducing Batman this year. They're not going to be introducing Batgirl. I don't see that. They've got Superman. Again, she now has to reestablish herself on the CW. I think she'll do fine. I think the series and the show will do fine. But, it's coming from CBS, it's coming to CW. You basically have to find their own footing, and once that, then again, you've seen it with Arrow and Flash. They got to take a while to make sure these things get footing, and then slowly introduce other things about that.
Well, that's
that overall character. But you're jumping 5-10 miles, 5 miles, 10 miles a mile. I mean, you're going so fast.
I'm going by what they're saying. I'm not going by what my opinion is. I'm only going by the news. Well, I'm not talking about what George wants.
Right, but whose news? Is it the people from the internet, or is it from the actual show?
No, it's from the actual... On the CW panels, they announced that they were bringing in the Batwoman's girlfriend on the CW panel at Comic-Con. They asked the producer lady, I watched it the other day, they asked her, so does this mean the rumor about Batwoman coming is true? And she didn't say no. She kind of vaguely did that thing that they all do, where they try to change it.
If she didn't say yes, then you guys, it's definite.
It's not. No. You got to go by the past of when they've done this with characters. They kind of always give the same type of shy. She said, all I can say is we've got a lot more rights to bring in. It's like they're answering a question with a. She says, all I can say is that they have more rights now to bring in we have more freedom to bring in characters, and they're saying no less often now, something like that. That's the same answer Bruce Timm got when he was how many characters he could bring into his animated series. But I'm just saying, if Superman's allowed, Batman's open too. They're just waiting for the right time. And this wasn't an option years ago, back when you're talking about how long it's been since Batman's been on TV. Well, yeah, because Christopher Nolan's movies were going on. When did Batman Begins start? It's been a while. They were tying up the rights for a while. That's why it wasn't.
I don't remember.
Yeah, almost 10 years.
So that's something else that we can blame on, who's his name, Nolan? Not Nolan.
Well, there were more movies with Batman going on in a consecutive time period that tied up those rights than there were Superman. And Superman Returns came out in the middle of Smallville, and that's why he ended up wearing his actual costume that Brandon Routh wore at the end of the series. Even then, they couldn't even show him in full camera frame, head to toe, because they still had those restrictions. They had what they call an embargo. Anyways, I'll get time to switch subjects. But yeah, I just want to clarify. There is a lot of room to believe that that's what's going to happen. Oh, one last thing, and you were worried about them hitting us with too much at once. They have a plan. They've already talked about how in the wintertime we're going to get that multi-crossover with Supergirl, Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, and Arrow. It's going to be a huge crossover. So this is happening anyways. They are going to build up to it. Supergirl's going to start in October. Flash is going to start in October.
I understand they're going to have this crossover. That's fine, but these are already established TV shows. You can't be, Superman, Batman, Batgirl, Catwoman. I mean, you just can't be throwing these. These are some of the bigger names in DC, and again, they are tied to like you said, they're tied to the movies. Maybe I know DC is now trying to get a foothold into Marvel, so that, hey, we can do this on TV. We can make them more approachable on TV, so they'll come and see them at the movies.
But they are killing it.
Right.
And also, the Legends of Tomorrow is bringing in the Justice Society of America, and they're introducing several characters from that. Stargirl, Commander Steel, Citizen Steel, Dr. Midnight, Hourman, a ton of other characters. They're bringing them all into the Legends of Tomorrow. They've already talked about it and shown clips from it. And then they're talking about a spin-off of Justice Society next year, if that becomes popular. Hinting, they didn't say for sure. I'm just saying, they're not afraid to just go for it, but they're only going to stop when people say no, when the ratings go down, you know what I mean? Until then, why not strike while the lightning's hot?
Well, unfortunately, I mean, ZW doesn't get that great of ratings compared to
they're
NBC
starting to go up
and
there
CBS.
now.
But they're still nowhere near CBS kind of ratings.
Well, that's the whole reason
Fox
why we can have what
ratings
we're getting. They don't require
agree.
it.
They don't have a higher bar. They don't have the higher
They don't
bar
require
than
exactly.
CBS. So CBS had that bar. It didn't meet the bar. CW is nowhere near. It doesn't have to
No, that
reach
wasn't why. Actually, it was the budget. It was costly.
Well, again, I've seen it didn't attract the numbers that even though it was like number 2 or 3 it was in the top 5 for watching, but there's like, well, it's too expensive and it's not, for it's only 5th for those kind of expenses. We needed to be number 1, so they kicked it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've heard different things. It was the ratings. It was mostly the cost of Supergirl to make it. So, and CW seems to be able to take a lower budget and make it work, and they knew that, so they wanted to, and also the popularity. The people wanted it. So, anyways, welcome back, Magnum.
Yeah, he didn't even realize that he had been kicked and then brought back. He didn't realize that he's been sent to an alternate universe for a few minutes or a few seconds, and then came back.
What happened?
Both you and George disappeared. You were basically timed out, and you disappeared.
And
it was me and Rob.
Yeah, I'm still recording, George. You're okay.
All right. I'm just going to let Ross's recording continue because it's pointless for me to just pick it up from the middle. Because I was going to say that I didn't notice that when that happened, my recording stopped.
Oh, they put us in a time warp.
Yeah,
I think
let's do the time warp.
I think you were getting hacked.
Which is being re-released.
Yeah, thank God that Ross has been recording, because seriously, my recording's gone because of this little whatever happened. Anyways, okay, so Rebels, Season 3.
Rebels.
This, I believe we've all seen it, and I've been waiting for it. I have some things I want to say about it, but I want to let you guys go first. Will, what did you think?
I haven't seen it.
Never mind, you didn't see it.
We just talked about that.
Seen it.
I told you.
Everybody was betting whether you were going to end up coming in here.
Well, no, we didn't bet. I said you are holding off on talking on this topic because you want Will to be here when Will's going to say, I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
Dear God. That's so funny. It's so funny. He literally told us what was going to happen.
George, why don't you tell us your side? Because you're really excited over this, and it's because of Tom Baker, so just go ahead.
No, that's not why.
Yeah, it is.
That was the original reason in the previews, but after watching it, there was more than that.
No, I'm pretty sure it was Tom Baker.
No.
All right, what is your assessment?
I loved it. I love the direction they're going with it. I think there's a little trivia that a lot of people don't know about the Bendu. They're not new. They've been in the Star Wars lore for about 30 years. Lucas created them, actually. They just started using them on the show, along with there's a race called the Wills, Whills. Star Wars was originally drafted by George Lucas as something called the Chronicle of the Whills, and Star Wars was one chapter in the Chronicle of the Whills. The Whills were put in canon in the Clone Wars, in the final season when Yoda was learning how to merge with the Force by these aliens that floated around with the different faces. Those are the Whills. The Whills are an ancient race. They're neither dark side nor light. They just are basically representatives of the Force. And the Bendu are like them. In both cases, they don't care about like the Jedi or the Sith. They look at them as like children that don't know what they're doing. And they're ancient races. And so when they brought Tom Baker's character in, the Bendu, this character is awesome because not because it's Tom Baker, although that helps, but this is a canon a race that has been described in drafts and backstories by Lucas for years. And the idea is the Jedi and the Sith are, more recent. There's been many other beings out there who have learned the Force, understood the Force far better than them, but they're like, they're ancient. They've snuffed out. And the Jedi and the Sith are kind of like stuck in this black and white view of the Force. And in both cases, both with the Whills and the Bendu, whenever they appear, it's like the Whills taught Yoda, you think you're a master because you're a master Jedi, and you're not. You just think you know everything. You don't know shit. And Yoda was very excited because he had a lot to learn. And then he ended up learning how to become a Force ghost. Well, Kanan is now in that position with the Bendu. Kanan is because of him getting blinded by Darth Maul last season in the finale, is in a situation where he's lost his confidence. He does, he's like, I just became a Jedi Knight, and then this happened, and he lost his confidence. And the Bendu teaches him that your eyes are only one way to see things. If you are truly a Force user, in this case, Jedi, stop relying on the physical stuff because you should know better. Idiot. You should learn to embrace the Force, the whole thing you were trained to use your whole life. And he slowly teaches him. And the way that he mentors him in just this short period of time was awesome. And then of course Ezra leaning on the dark side, and the way he's getting so powerful so quick and kicking some ass makes that walker, do what it does, and all this other stuff. Ignites the green saber, just all the stuff Ezra's doing as the short time that he used the holocron to gain knowledge of the dark side and how powerful he grew. It is very telling of people that embrace the dark side to get that quicker thing they always talk about. Luke asks Yoda, is the dark side more powerful? And Yoda says, no, it's quicker, whatever. You get it quicker, but it's not the same thing. And you have to embrace those negative emotions. And so when Kanan was afraid of those spider things and he had to use that device, and the Bendu destroys it, he's freaking out, and he's like, no, you need to see what's going on around you. And he's like, I can't see, I'm blind. And him teaching him...
Are you recanting the entire episode, or are you going to just get to the point?
Sorry. Anyways, my point is that it was a deep episode, and the things that they're hinting at is what's going on with Ezra. That Sith holocron is like an addiction to him, right? You know what I mean? It's like, where did you put it, by the way? There have been some complaints from people that Kanan was just like, what do you want me to do with this Sith holocron? He's like, just keep it as a gift. He's like, really? You just met this guy. You're going to give him this powerful artifact? But I think that kind of falls, in my opinion, to the fact that he sensed he could trust this being that he can't see with his real eyes, but he can sense and see him through what he taught him. So what do you guys think?
Well, not much to say after that. I'm just kidding.
No, that was my opinion.
I know, but you stated...
Your opinion and synopsis.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So basically,
exclusive.
If I say anything, it's not going to be anything new. But what I did enjoy from the episode is the little millennial brat, right? And he steers away from the Jedi Master, saying, I don't need you. I'm going to do this. I'm going to use the holocron. I learned something. Maybe you could learn something from it too. But what I appreciated is that the Jedi Knight became the bigger person and came back to help when he needed help.
Yeah.
And he said, I will always be here, which shows maturity. So that I did appreciate that. And the young boy acknowledged his faults, that it was his fault. But what gets me is you give a person a measure of power, and they tend to abuse it. Just like when they were on the missions and he kept messing up, then he got stripped of that power. So that's what I appreciated. Now, with regards to the Bendu, one thing I appreciated is there's more to the Force than light or dark.
Exactly.
And that's what the Jedi and the Sith are missing. They're not embracing the entire Force because they're only embracing a small portion of it. And so there's a lot more for them to learn, which can open up myriads of stories in the future.
That's well said. That's actually what a lot of people have reflected. When in an interview with Dave Filoni, the producer of Rebels and Clone Wars, he said exactly almost what you just said, that they wanted to take the backstory notes that Lucas wrote about the Force and the other races that existed before the Jedi and the Sith, and how the Jedi and the Sith were very short-sighted. And it was like they weren't seeing the bigger picture. They were breaking it apart, and micromanaging it. You can't learn about the dark side because we're afraid you'll get really excited about it and you'll lose your way. When the actual truth was that not knowing about the dark side was what led to the destruction of the Jedi, because they were more curious about it. It's like you tell a kid, don't do drugs. Of course they're going to want to do drugs because you told them not to. And that's the whole point. You gotta teach them about it, not make it like a blacklisted thing. Like, we don't tell you anything about the dark side, or even we don't even want you to know the history. We're going to rewrite it. You don't even want to know what happened with the Sith. Don't even worry about that. But when they start to uncover stuff, they get more curious. Why did they hide this from me? And that's kind of the way Ezra's acting. You know what I'm saying? What do you think, Ross?
I think you guys have pretty much covered everything between the two of you.
Well, not your opinion. That's the point.
It was a good episode. It was a really good episode. It was a pleasure to hear Tom Baker's voice, an excellent actor, and a fantastic presence. They didn't even need a whole lot of post-production work to give him that kind of presence and resonance that he has in his vocal quality.
Okay, so we talked about the Jedi stuff, but there's another...
I wasn't done.
I'm sorry, Russ, you stopped. Go ahead.
You're taking a breath, jeez.
All right.
The story overall, I really enjoyed it. It was nice to see. It's nice to see Ezra growing. He's not that stocky little 3-foot kid anymore. He's up to 5 feet now. Sabine having a brand new look as she does each season. Another bit of a refreshing sight. Not sure how I like the white, but still good to see her. That's like Anthony said. I liked how Ezra was given some power. He didn't quite know what to do with it, put his team at risk, and he has to pay the consequences for it. That action and consequence is key to having him grow as a character and to continue to grow up. It was a good journey, not just for Ezra, but for Kanan as well, who suffered a terrible loss, and through the course of this episode has not completely healed, but is beginning to heal.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And everyone is continuing on their journey forward. I'm happy to see more Rebels. I'm very happy to see more Rebels. And, of course, one thing neither of you talked about, I just thought of, Thrawn.
Getting at it. Go ahead.
Oh, I wasn't sure about how they would portray Thrawn. He's a character that I've got a lot of affinity for. I loved Heir to the Empire, and his portrayal in this in this episode was very well done. He was soft spoken. He had something of an alien quality to him. Not just the blue skin and the red eyes, but the way he spoke. It wasn't as fluid. He had kind of a halting softness to his tone that made him seem just a little bit alien. And it'll be interesting to see how he goes forward without the force-canceling Isalamari and, so far, no Nogri.
Timothy Zahn actually watched a screening of the first episode with Dave Filoni and they showed it on that Star Wars Celebration. He absolutely loved the guy's performance. I can't remember his first name, but it's one of the Middleton brothers. The other guy plays the Admiral guy in the white in Star Wars. Rogue One, and he voice acts Thrawn. And Dave Filoni wanted Timothy Zahn to give his blessing for the portrayal of Zahn that they showed on the screen. And I remember watching that on the Celebrations live stream thing, and Zahn was ecstatic. He said that's the voice he pictured in his head.
And the final mention in the episode talking about a broader rebellion that is going beyond just their fleet. There is a galactic rebellion that is growing. That was exciting, and I think that's going to be the kind of the cutoff point you've been talking about for a while, George. How after the season they're going to jump the story ahead to something further on.
Well, they said there's going to be at least one more season of Rebels. And in my opinion, what they're going to do next is either one of two things. They've been hinting at this. They're either going to do the next cartoon in the middle of the original trilogy, like you see Luke, Han, Leia, in the middle between, like, for example, like they do in the comics, between Star Wars and Empire, and all the stories we didn't see, or they're going to pick up after Return of the Jedi in the many years of stories that they can play with that we never saw, as Luke's trying to find other people to train and all that stuff they're doing. They could do either story as the next series, and it would be exciting.
I think picking up after Return of the Jedi would be the wise thing. The comics seem to be covering the gap between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, and possibly after Empire Strikes Back as well. But the Rebels could just as easily, at least the characters could transfer ahead. Maybe do one season in between to show the growth of the characters and how they fit into this galactic rebellion, and then carry it ahead till after Return of the Jedi to showcase kind of that would be the perfect medium for the rebuilding of the Republic.
You know what? I'm really torn on my opinion as to which way if I was them, I would go, because if you look at how they're jumping, where they go from Clone Wars and they jump to the Rebels, if they jump way ahead to after Return of the Jedi as far as the way they're going, I'm not so sure. If I was the guy sitting in the room with them, I think it would be smart to cover one more series. Don't make it necessarily a long one, but you do cover and it could be a new original group that sometimes includes Leia, Han, and everybody. But you cover the period in the middle of the original trilogy before you jump to after the Empire Falls. But it could go either way. I mean, because if they jump way ahead to past Return of the Jedi, then you get into a little bit of a problematic thing. Because I think what they're hopefully planning to do is showing the evolution of what happens to Ezra and Kanan that goes forward. And if you jump too far ahead, like 10 more years instead of 5 more years, I don't know if that's a good idea. But I mean, we'll have to see how they feel and how they feel it furthers the story. You know what I mean? Either way, it works.
Definitely a lot of stuff to look forward to.
Yeah. So, Anthony, I have a question for you. You're a martial artist, right?
Yes.
What do you think of the choreography as animators? Because I do 3D stuff. When you watch Rebels, and of course the choreography is not going to be as awesome in a animated show as it would be in a live action thing, but as someone that could potentially be someone I could choreograph martial arts in any situation, whether it's a sword fight or a jiu-jitsu fight or a karate fight or whatever. When you watch the lightsaber battles or any of the battles in Rebels, do you think that the choreography of the battles is at the standard it should be for characters such as Jedi?
Are you asking me? Do I think that the Jedi moves are similar to martial arts, or because you asked me if I'm a martial artist?
No. I mean, in your opinion, are the standards of their choreography for the saber fights, for example, decent for an animated show?
I don't look at it that way, so I don't know.
Oh, okay.
When I watch the show and the dude's using the saber, I don't critique his abilities or what the animators have him do, because it's a cartoon. So I don't put a lot of effort into it.
So you put it to a different standard.
No, I don't put any effort. I don't create
he doesn't
a
grade
standard.
it at all.
I don't grade it. Yeah.
I was just curious. I think that as technology improves and they get better at making things seem more real, whether to try to differentiate.
Is that what you do, George? When you see those Jedi, you're like, well, he's doing it wrong and he's doing it right.
No, I've enjoyed the way they choreograph the lightsaber battles in Rebels and Clone Wars. Sometimes it's a little bit too choppy and quick as far as how they do things compared to the live action, but I still enjoy it. I just was curious what Anthony thought, since he's somebody with a martial arts background.
Right, but I think, unless you're trained in, like with the way that they do the lightsabers isn't even the way that they do the, the katana. I mean, the katana is a slashing weapon, right? Anthony?
Well, they have actual
right.
Form 1, Form 2, Form...
But again, people try to equate Jedi with martial arts, and I think, I don't know.
Well, they took martial arts trainers and made
they have martial artists perform these...
No, Will, that's not what I mean.
They
created these styles are... You know how they took the Klingon
But it's not real.
The
thing is, you're wielding a light sword that can cut things in half and off and stuff. I mean,
that's a good point.
No normal person will be wielding this thing around his head and genitals like they do.
That's funny you said that. Mark Hamill used to say in interviews, he used to argue with George Lucas during Return of the Jedi because he was during his last battle with Vader, he kept saying, why am I holding this damn lightsaber handle with two hands when it's made of light, like it's heavy? And Lucas goes, because I'm trying to recreate like a knight versus a knight fight. And Mark Hamill kept saying, but I should just be able to hold it with one hand. It's made of light. I could do it much quicker moves and more realistic moves of how I would fight if it was light and I'm holding it like it's like a flashlight.
George wanted to create something like the Japanese katana.
And they started doing that in the prequels, which was cool. But Mark Hamill was like, "Oh, I hope when they bring me back for the last 3, 7, 8, 9, that I can actually do the one-handed."
Well, George, if you want to get into it, the only training that a Jedi needs when wielding a lightsaber is how not to cut his leg or his arm or his hand off.
I know. If I was to get all techno-babbly, I would say they should be able to build some device in it that recognizes your body so you can't cut yourself. But that's...
No, because the whole thing is, it's just a light, and the thing is, they don't. I mean,
it's an electromagnetic
get into the
force
technical
field
thing.
with a laser
How do they
inside
stop it 6 feet from the hilt? I mean, if it's like a laser. Technically, if you generate it, it was going to go off to infinity. I mean, that's what they do. They just shoot off. How do they stop it 6 feet?
Well, there was some exposition offered about how there's an electromagnetic field
because they don't exist.
Yeah, I know. Anyways, I just thought it was interesting because they have created detailed Form 1, Form 2. This is why this form's used when they're fighting people with blasters. This is why this form's used when someone like Dooku comes at you with this one-handed sort of rapier type fighting style, and that's why they switch off and whatever.
I mean, I equate it to when I watch like Bruce Lee or those Chinese movies with all the kung fu and stuff. I mean, I love watching that stuff, but I'm like, okay, yeah, they're using some of the forms, but how realistic? Whenever I hear professional martial artists say, the best thing to do in a fight is to run away
or improvise.
Is to don't get into a fight in the first place,
right?
Because because when you get into a fight, you've already lost, and so people, I want to do this, and kids go out in the backyard and they start swinging sticks around. It's not realistic. It's fun to watch. I agree, it's fun to watch. But trying to equate it into reality is something it's taken away from it. To me, it just diminishes something.
But they're warriors. They need to be able to handle it.
But, George, a true martial arts fight is an ugly thing to watch.
I know.
That's why they developed sport karate, because it's flashy, it's fast, people are kicking high and all that stuff. But it's not designed for fighting. And it's just like when you're watching the Chinese wushu movies or the kung fu movies or even the Japanese revenge movies when they're on the horses with the swords. Right. All that is not real fighting.
I know. I had a friend that once took out like at least 10 guys.
It's more of a dance move, if anything.
Yeah, it's right. Dance move.
No, I know.
It's hip-hop before hip-hop.
Pretty much. But I love watching it.
Right, it's fun to watch.
Yeah.
You love
I'm
watching
gonna tell
Bruce Lee. You love watching Jackie Chan. You love, I mean, just the Star Wars. I mean, just the great. It's choreography. It's wow. It's flashy, but reality, no, it doesn't work.
All right, I agree with you guys. There's about a total of 9 minutes left that I can do. But there was something a couple episodes ago I totally forgot I wanted to mention, and I'm going to do it real quick and see what you guys think. So this is kind of a rumor, but the source has been right about the last movie. So some people are taking it seriously, some people are not, because there's different pieces being spread around about what's right and what's wrong. So the rumor about Episode 8, and this is not a spoiler because this is just stuff that people supposedly got from...
Episode 8 of what?
Star Wars, sorry. So on the set, people caught pictures, and it corresponds with like rumors of what people have overheard from dialogue and script stuff. So the idea is that what we're going to learn is there's a force tree, and this was so many different sources said that on Luke's island there. That's why he was looking for that planet in the first Jedi Temple. There's supposed to be this force tree that taught the first man and woman about the force that became...
Are you not allowed to eat the fruit of the tree?
It's actually, I'm going there because it is there is an analogy to the Adam and Eve thing.
Yeah, I saw it before you said it. Yeah.
So in this story, Luke, according to, again, like I've always told you guys, if I talk about a rumor thing, I go by what's their level of being right. You know what I mean? In the past. So this guy was like, I want to say 80% right. He's sometimes wrong in the details. But anyways, the way the story goes is that according to what's going to happen in Episode 8, Luke takes Rey's hand, and she sees a flashback. And she sees a little boy and a little girl approaching this tree that he shows her the dead tree at this point. And they go to the tree, and the tree teaches them about the Force. And he teaches the girl the light side and the boy the dark side. And the boy kills the girl out of not being able to control his anger. The tree resurrects her, and then it flashes back. It flashes ahead to her being a senior Jedi. She forms the Jedi Order and tells all of her students that when she dies, you look for her. She's going to be coming back in a reincarnated form, and she will bring balance to the Force. And this is supposed to tie into what the Jedi thought Anakin was in the prophecy, and they were wrong. He was like the false Messiah. And
he was the boy. He was the little boy.
Right, and the boy is supposedly Kylo Ren. And that the idea is that they're both reincarnated and they recognize each other in these new lives, and that's why Rey was so powerful in the beginning of the Force Awakens, because she was the reincarnated form of this first Jedi, and she's just awakening to her of who she used to be. There have been a lot of conflicted opinions about this. I asked Adam and Carlo during our Trek 50th when we had a small conversation about this, because they're big Star Wars fans, what they thought. They think that Rey is actually Han and Leia's daughter, and that Han didn't know because Leia gave her up because Han left and she was pregnant at the time. And I like this opinion, this theory, and that he didn't know Leia was pregnant. Han took off. They hadn't spoken. She didn't have a galactic cell phone number, and that she let Luke hide Rey, and he wiped her memory and put her on Jakku with that dude, and then and basically that's why that happened, that Han didn't know, but Leia sensed it, and that's why they have this connection, that was her daughter. And so Adam brought that up, Adam Isle, and that was an interesting theory. But what do you guys think of this hypothesis that could be credible, that there's a connection to an Adam and Eve mythology?
So it sounds like they're drawing further parallels to the original expanded universe with the eventual confrontation between Jason and Jaina.
Yeah,
I think it's going to cause a bunch of riots. I think the Muslims and the Jews are going to get pissed off.
Can we be serious?
Well, okay,
I think he was being serious.
Why are they trying to equate it to an Earth religion?
Well, because he has been doing that.
Why?
They're
in another universe.
In a galaxy far away.
Lucas created the Star Wars saga.
You can't relate it to Christ.
Yes, you
can't relate it to Catholicism.
No, you're right, Luke. I almost called you Luke. What the hell? Lucas did base Luke's story, that's why I said Luke, on a famous Buddhist story. about the one guy that was right when the rest of the masters were wrong. So he has used ancient religions and myths as a theme that gets put into Star Wars.
I understand that he used the King Arthur's story. He's used a lot of things from mythology. That's fine. But okay, now we're going back to religion. Religion on this planet is one of the most touchy
subjects. Isn't Adam and
subjects.
Eve a myth, though?
Right, but no, it's not. I mean, it's a myth, but it's religion, right?
Yeah, it's
religion.
Genesis myth. Yeah,
it's in all of the religions, right?
I kind of don't mind this idea.
It's too convoluted. I mean, I don't care what a past. Why do we have to go back into the past? Just tell the story from now. That's why the episode 7 was good, but it was a repeat from the episode 4.
Yeah, but
it was a rehash.
Star Wars has always echoed a theme,
and that's what I'm saying. That's why Star Trek, to me, tells the better stories.
Well,
Star Trek is Star Wars, as flashy as it is, as popular it is childish in nature.
It's meant to be cheesy. It's mythological.
I know he did it like he's supposed to do it, the westerns and space westerns or whatever. I know the things that George set up. That's fine, but people have taken it and now they're going on these weird tangents.
Okay,
just
so
keep it the way. Just do it what George wanted. I mean the Saturday night, Western, the things that he did on Saturday mornings.
The
that's
30 serials. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he was trying to base it on, right?
Some of it, not all of it. He was basing some. Part of it was the King Arthur mythos. He took a Buddhist story for the Jedi. There was a lot of aspects he threw into the pot. Now, what you got to remember?
But now today, I mean, with all of the material and the fan stuff and the stuff that's surrounding, you don't need to go back to religion anymore. You can have your own.
But you're not
your own
really,
religion.
But you're not really. This is where I'm just saying. Most of the best stories out there take something from an example like that, and they're not saying this is a ripoff of this Adam and Eve story. They're using it as sort of a metaphor, and that people can relate to. I think it's fun. I think it's just an interesting idea if it is true that Rey and Kylo are in reincarnated past incarnations, that they were the first two humans to learn the Force from an ancient tree being or whatever on this island. You got to remember, Luke came to this island for a reason. He didn't just go there because he felt like hanging out away from everybody else on this island. He came there because he was trying to, as Han told Rey and Finn. The rumor is that Luke went looking for the first Jedi Order. We don't know why he went looking for the first Jedi Order. The first Jedi Temple. But they never explain why he was looking for the first Jedi Temple. They just simply said he went looking for it. Why would Luke go? Think about it. He's trying to understand what went wrong with how he, tried to train the rebirth of the Jedi. Snoke came in, things went wrong. He's trying to figure out, well, what should I do next?
I'm going to have to go, guys. So I'll see you guys next week.
All right, man. We're almost...
Later, Will.
See ya.
Real quick, Anthony, your final thoughts on this rumor about possibly what's going on in Episode 8.
Yoda can defeat Batman.
I was hoping for you to say. All right, you guys. Where can we find you on social media? Magnum.
You can follow me on Twitter at Anthony Battles.
All right. You can find me, George, on Chooch99A on Twitter. And Ross, what about you?
You can find me and Super Geeks at www.iliveloveplay.com. Super Geeks is a Live Love Play podcast produced in association with Busy Little Beaver Productions, blbproductions.com.
All right, that was episode 31. And I want to thank everybody for joining us. As the fall goes on, there's a lot of new shows coming out, so we will be talking about many other things to come. So I want to thank you for joining us, and we will talk to you next time.